We are live for today's money mastery conversation for female entrepreneurs. This is definitely a conversation I love beyond measure. This is the one thing I'm really pissed at most of my mentors over the years for. Yes, I did. I love this conversation. But one thing that I really, really wish we'd had more conversation of, and all the marketing training I got and all the, non-business training that I got was really a much, would be a better idea.
A better idea?
A better idea around the financial side of business. I don't think it's talked about enough because I think so many people are struggling with the finances.
Well, it's always, they always say it's like, I think money falls in that line of you don't talk about politics or religion, and
Yeah.
people don't talk about money. It's like you keep that private. That's to yourself. Your money is your business, and to a point, okay, I get it. But at the same time, it's like if we don't talk about it, so many people. Then I get into these. I'm just fascinated. It was like I started learning. I've been doing bookkeeping for eons, but I've been getting more into getting certifications and different things, and kind of more getting more familiar with more of the softwares, I guess. But anyhow, I joined a bunch of different Facebook bookkeeping groups, and the questions that get asked in there just astound me. And I mean, some of them are coming from bookkeepers. Some of them are coming. It's like, oh, I ran into this situation with a client, and I'm like, it just so it's like the things like because we don't talk about our finances, and because we don't talk about finances in your business, the things that I think some of us think are common sense are not so common. And that just kind of blew me away. And I was like, really? I was like, because I did taxes for a time period, and I actually had people bring in a shoebox full of receipts and wanted me to go through said receipts. I laughed at them.
Yeah.
I said, "You're fun," that's mild. It's like if you're running a business, keeping your finances. That's number one tip right there. It's like keep track of your finances. Keep accurate receipts.
Let's step back a little.
Hold
on.
She always wants to step back.
I do step back a little because I get where you're going because you know the information. Right? You're like one of the few people that's like, I get it. So Michelle's jumping on with us. So hey, everybody. So we know Facebook takes a few minutes to like find us. This is just kind of how this goes. Puts us out in front of people. Feel free to share this out if you're joining us. Let other people know to come in. One of the things I just want to do is a quick introduction. So for those of you that have been watching me over the last 3 days, I've been doing like a series of videos jumping in at noon at this time. And wherever you are in the world, and just really kind of having a true conversation around what does it look like to be a female business owner. I think we all know what it means to be a female in a business world, but what does it look like to start honing in and understanding how women approach business in a different perspective to give us a little more freedom around what we're building, especially as we have families, we're caretakers. We have a lot of other responsibilities. We wear many, many hats often. So I just want to kind of step back a little bit and share that one. So first off, if you guys don't know me, my name is Katrina Van Houston, but most of you know me as Chef Katrina. And who's joining me here today, because you might not know who this perfect stranger is. You're like, who is that? This is the CFO. Yes, the Chief Financial Officer. Because dear God, I desperately needed help in the financial side and the business side of my businesses. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I still don't know what I don't know, and that's why I pick her brain when it comes to money.
Her receipts are in the shoebox.
My receipts were in the shoebox. This is true. It's actually in a manila envelope. You're welcome. So this is Heidi Muma. She has been in the real estate investing game. She's owned rental properties throughout her lifetime. She homeschooled her 3 amazing children. She's been involved in the network marketing industry. She's been involved in just about everything, just for fun. Don't look at me like that. And so really when I was building out Truth Bomb and this company, I knew I couldn't do it on my own anymore. And the more I tried to handle all 3 aspects of business, when I look at what business is, there are three aspects. There is the running the business, so the CEO, like really what overall, what does it holistically look like? You should always have or find a chief financial officer, whether it's a fractional one or a friend or somebody, but the money side of business is a critical conversation. And I know we were just talking about it, but it is often overlooked, right? It's usually we talk about marketing to bring the money in, but then how do you sustain the business once the money's there? How do you pay yourself? How do we have these real conversations that are often missed because we're so stuck on the generating leads, building my content marketing, all this other stuff for your business, and you're actually even in your business, you're still working on it, that this tends to be not the primary strength of most business owners. Heidi, I remember you telling me, I think there was a shocking statistic that said like something about 80% of the small businesses that we know, right, and don't know, 80% of them are struggling financially.
Yeah, they're still living. I mean, it's like you think of it personally, but businesses are also living sale to sale. And it's like, and you look at, and sometimes it doesn't matter if the first couple of years in business you have huge success. Even often those companies are still going bankrupt by the year 5 or 6. And it's like, so 80, like they say, like it's a small percentage of businesses that sustain longevity and go on to be the Amazons, and of the Facebooks of the world. And so and oftentimes it comes back down to that cash management system. It's not that they can't make the sales, it's that they don't manage the money that's coming in an effective manner.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing we talked about. And one of my big angst when I talked with a lot of my mentors, I said, how come we don't talk money? Like we talk about how to make it. We talk about pricing our products and services. We talk about what we're going to pay people. We talk about a lot of different things around money, but we really don't talk about the financial health of a company. And there's so much old school training around this. There's so much. And for those that are joining in and just say hello, I'd love to see you guys and just say hi for this. But there's so much old school business training, the good old boy club, I guess you can say. And it's nothing against it. It's just, it's what's been in play for so long that as we dive into this now, as we're talking about women entering into the entrepreneurial world, what needs to shift and change for us? And I've always been the one that looks for the outlier information. The information that's kind of on the fringe, the things that it's not common yet amongst entrepreneurs, but there's a lot of really great technology that has been coming up and being developed that actually serves small business owners better when it seriously,
Yeah.
when it comes to the setting up your financial structure of your business, because knowing the financial structure of your business is key. You have to understand how you're going to bring your customer through that financial process, understanding that there's traditional percentage points, different things you're looking at as you're building your business, and most of us don't even know half of that. So I think it's always interesting when we dive into this conversation.
It is interesting. So where do we?
So let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning.
At the beginning.
At the beginning. So step one, we learned very beginning on. So I'm a business owner.
Yep. Are you sole proprietor? Are you LLC? Are you S corp? What are you?
Oh crap! Now you're giving me titles. I just said I was going to start a company. Now I have titles that I have to look at. Now this is primarily in the U.S., right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and you don't have to. You can just start your business as a sole proprietor, and you're not screwing anything up.
Yeah.
You're not.
Sole proprietor is the first step, I would say.
Sole proprietor, just get started.
Yeah.
And it's like, and once you get started, you'll come across that it's like, what do I want to do now? I would recommend, even as a sole proprietor, you can get an EIN, which is your employer identification number from the government.
Yep.
And that is like, it is super simple. It's free. You just go to irs.gov. Don't let people convince you have to pay somebody to get one. It's literally free. And irs.gov, you just get an EIN. Or you can conduct business just using your social security number when you're getting started, if you want to. It's not mandatory. I don't recommend it, but it's not gonna kill your business either. But getting that EIN, the first thing it does is it allows you to open up a bank account, a business bank account.
Okay.
Now, as a sole proprietor, you can just use a personal bank account, and it's not a big deal. But if you go into an LLC or an S corp, you do have to look into a business bank account. But the first thing I recommend, whether it's personal or business, separating your finances. That is step one. When you decide to go into business, that is step one. Open up a bank account for your business.
I think that's the most critical thing. I actually had somebody ask me, we were at a networking event, we were talking with a bunch of female entrepreneurs, and they're like, what's the first thing I need to do? Like, if you were to coach me to become a millionaire in business, and I said, the first thing to do is establish a business bank account. Because I just remember when I was working with a lot of women back in the last 10 years or so, and I was coaching a lot of women in businesses, and I was working with a lot of women that were in the network marketing industry also. And what was interesting is that they did not have a separate bank account for their business. Now, what I will tell you, and I'm going to share this right now, is that a 1099, which is what a network marketer or an affiliate marketer is, it's somebody that isn't employed, right? You're not an employee. You're a 1099, means you're a contractor, which means you're responsible for your own taxes. And so you're getting paid the full amount, but you still are responsible for the taxes that you have to pay, right? So that's a 1099. Anything to add to a 1099 around that, or did I cover that pretty good just in the
Yeah, no,
concept?
it's pretty good. Just understand it's like as a 1099, yeah, you're responsible for all your employee taxes.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's why when I say about when we talked earlier about receipts and stuff and keeping accurate records, the things that are business expenses, you need to keep your receipts. And I recommend getting the scanner. Because if you ever look at receipts and the ink kind of goes away sometimes.
Well, yeah, we have thermal paper.
So in a year or two, you're not actually going to be able to read that receipt anymore.
Details.
So there are simple free apps on your phone. Just scan the receipts, and it saves them into folders. It's organized and it's easy to find if you ever need to find them again.
That's true.
And so it's like nobody wants to get audited, but you don't want to put. Keeping accurate receipts puts less audit alerts on your tax return too.
Yeah. So coming back to this conversation, so the first thing is no matter what business you're in. So a lot of people get involved in affiliate marketing and think, okay, this is just a great way. And I know for myself, I definitely commingled a lot of my personal and business, and then trying to rip that apart at tax time is really annoying for all CPAs and bookkeepers and accountants of the world. And not only that, it's a time-consuming suck for you if you're the one that's going to have to go through and separate out what was an affiliate expense, what was a business expense, what was a personal expense during that time. So one of the first things we do like to talk about is, as a 1099, you are financially responsible for yourself. You do need to consider yourself as a sole proprietor, a business entity, right? I think that's one of the big things, is that we think it's so easy here in the U.S. to get started, but the reality is that if you're going to have money coming in through a source that's non-employment, right? And this includes all my Door Dashers out there, my Uber drivers out there, my Instacart drivers out there, anybody that's using their car or vehicle that gets paid as a 1099 for affiliate, I mean, whatever this looks like. And there are so many form and functions. This could be, you're consulting, you're doing different things. So you want to make sure that you understand that that is a business you're in, and the government is going to expect a tax percentage of that come at the end of the year. So understanding that was a big thing. So the first thing we always talk about is getting your EIN number, right? And then definitely opening up that business bank account. That, for most of us, it really defines definitively, this is business, this is the money I'm bringing in for the business, this is personal. Now, what I tend to find with a lot of business owners is that they'll flow over their business into their personal, like, oh, I need a computer. This is me, by the way. I'm gonna put this out there. Oh, I need a computer. Well, instead of paying myself a paycheck, I just had the company buy me a computer, and I consider that my paycheck, right? But I never saw the physical transfer of a paycheck to me. And I think a lot of times as women in business, we don't pay ourselves. We use the company to buy us dinner or lunch or go out. Like, we use the expenses of the company as like our cheat, like our move around. It's like, well, I got this, because I run the company. Don't look at me like that. We all do it.
Yeah. I've done it.
I've done it, right?
I've done it.
So many times we use the expense of a company as our personal recognition or how we pay ourselves. But that's not the right way to be doing this.
But there is a way that your company can treat you to dinner.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right, now you can talk about this. I'm very curious.
All right, so there's a book out there called by Mike Michalowicz called Profit First.
Oh wait, I've got it in my hand. Look at this. It's one of my top 5 books for female entrepreneurs.
Yes, and I will drop the link in a minute. But it's a fantastic book. I recommend everybody getting it. If you're in business, get this book, read this book, and put it and start implementing it. You can start implementing it on chapter 6. But I do recommend reading the rest of the book because I did that. I was like, oh, I got it. And I put it down and I went and implemented it.
Yeah, I think we read like 4 chapters and we knew it all, right?
I knew it all. And I'm also, it's like I have an idea and I run with it. And then I have to backtrack and do it right.
Well, you are a bookkeeper. You're a certified QuickBooks and you're certified in a new banking system designed specifically for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So you do have some good certifications, and you really have been looking for how to support entrepreneurs, whether here in the U.S. or internationally. This is a process that all of us have access to.
All of us have access to. And it's, you kind of, so step it back. You think about how, in a simple version of this, when you were a child, or if you've had kids and you give them an allowance and then you have them split it up into a couple jars, right? You want them saving, you want them tithing or giving money away to charity. You want them separating their money, and then they have a money where they can go play, right? They can use this to save up for their favorite toy. Okay, so you take that simple system that we implement for our children and look at it in your business. And it was like, so we basically take every dollar that comes into the business and we separate it out into smaller accounts. Now I'm gonna bring up something. There's this law out there. It's called Parkinson's law.
Sounds like a disease.
It does sound like a disease. We need a better name for this, but that if you Google it, that's what it's called. It's called Parkinson's law, and it basically is talking about it's like whatever I have, I'm gonna use. Whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's resources. So it's like you think about. I've heard the thing about a tube of toothpaste. You know, it's like you have a.
No, wait, hold on.
No, don't use tube of toothpaste.
No, use hair shampoo. That's the hair stuff. I was thinking
because I'm bad about this.
I'm terrible at this. I didn't realize this until you said this until last training about shampoo, and I was like, oh dear Lord.
I mean, when I get a brand new bottle of shampoo, my whole hand is full of shampoo, and it's like, and I love to get that good lather. But when I just have a tiny bit left in that shampoo bottle, I swear I go through the first third of the shampoo bottle in like super fast. But that last quarter of the shampoo bottle will last me 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, I will get every drop out of that shampoo
twice the
bottle.
lifespan.
It's got twice the lifespan. And that's because it's like, I know I have less of it, so I use less. I use it to its full extent. I will get every drop out of that bottle. And we do the same thing with our finances. It's like if you have all your money in one account and something comes up and it's like, oh, that's something that will really help my business. It'll make my graphics beautiful. I can edit those videos in half the time. You know, and it's something you really want. When you look at that bank account, you're like, oh yeah, we have the money, but you're not thinking about how much of that money's already spent. And so it's like, you know, we get that shiny object syndrome, super easy. And we spend, and we sign up for things that we forget about, like memberships, subscriptions that we forget about. And so anyhow, in Profit First, he talks about putting your money into separate, smaller accounts.
Yeah.
And so that you're actually using a smaller amount. So when you look at Parkinson's law, it's like you have a smaller bucket, so you're going to be using it more effectively. And because it's instead of fighting against our human nature, we're actually working with our human nature.
Yeah.
So it becomes it's more natural, and when you get into the rhythm of doing it, it's really good. And so when you do want those meals, because then we have the 5 accounts. We'll talk about the 5 accounts.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Because I want to talk about how we get to have meals on our company.
Okay, fine. Go ahead and talk about that.
Because we talk about taking ourselves out to dinner. We're gonna take ourselves out to dinner, and so because you have all your money's gonna go into an income account. And
So wait, okay. So I have a business.
yep.
So let's before we dive into this real
Okay.
quick, right? So traditional banking. This is where we're kind of looking at what's traditional banking and what's different now with the technology and really wanting to serve entrepreneurs and having successful businesses, because we know that small businesses are the backbones of our economy. Like we need more of these small businesses to stick around, stay around.
And keep
right?
in mind, all the tax laws that we all grumble about were written for
Businesses. Yeah.
And so keep that in mind.
So the first thing that you want to look at when we talk about, what's the traditional business. So what we're about to share with you, it might seem really difficult when you talk to a traditional business. Like say you go and talk to the big five banks, like a Chase and a Bank of America, a lot of these bigger companies that have been around. This structure that we're about to share with you is not part of their norm, right? There are fee-based bankings. They want to make money from you. There's probably a fee to open it up. There's usually a fee to maintain a minimum balance. There's always these fees that are associated. So the idea of doing this, even just 2 years ago, was an undertaking, because you literally either had to have a really good relationship with your banking bank ahead of time, right? Or you were going to have to have an enormous amount of fees that you're going to have to pay every single month to do what we're telling you right now. So one of the things we want to make sure you understand is that we have been on the lookout and have found new banks, business banks, and specifically that are geared to helping the small business entrepreneur and being able to set up this type of strategy that Heidi's about to give to you. Because the reality is I've done it as a business owner. 6-7 figure businesses all in one business account, right? They tell you to spread it out, but you have like all these different accounts. What I like about the profit first strategy is that it really has you look at, okay, what are my expenses, and creates different accounts for different expenses, for owner's compensation, and we'll talk about those too. But what I really think is critical is that as a small business owner, you may not have a lot of startup cash, and you don't want to be dinged for every single fee. So when you can find a bank that is designed for designed for entrepreneurs, I always say female entrepreneurs because those are my favorite, without any fees, that you're not going to get dinged on everything, and that is really set up for you to succeed in business and take profit. This is what Heidi's going to talk about.
Yeah. So it is really cool to find a bank that is entrepreneur friendly, for one thing. Entrepreneur friendly. And so when you do open up these bank accounts, because I know, because like what Katrina talked about is like minimum balances and fees. Well, and I did drop a link for the bank that we use that there's no fees. There's no fees, and
Thank God.
and you can open up to, I think it's 50 accounts.
Yeah.
50 checking accounts and 2 savings accounts.
I think it's 20 checking accounts and 2 savings accounts.
Something like
it's
that.
Like 50. Anyways, we'll get into that later.
Anyhow, but so when I talk about opening up these multiple bank accounts, because we're not using jars, ladies, we're using actual bank accounts. And this is also it's a fantastic way to see the overall cash flow of your business super easily without having to pull reports from your bookkeeping system. But so the 5 accounts that we talk about is your income account, where all the money is going to flow into. So all the money is going to flow into one account, and then it's going to flow out to a profit account, an owner's comp account, an operations account, and a tax account. And so those 4 accounts with your income account are the 5 accounts we're talking about. And because we want that owner's comp account, because we're going to be paying ourselves, right?
Number one thing women don't do.
Yeah, number one thing women don't do. We want that tax account because we want to have the freedom to actually, when tax time comes, not make it a stressor, because we have the money set aside to take care of that. And that's actually your personal taxes, because your business is a flow through. It's going, all your taxes are going to go to your personally anyhow. Your operations account, which is where you're going to pay all your expenses out of. And then you have your profit account, which is that's actually realizing your profit. And
wait a minute. I talked to my bookkeeper and my CPA at the end of the year, and they give me a P&L sheet. This is my profit and loss sheet, and they tell me I make profit every single year.
Yeah, I've had that too. My accountant.
I don't know where it is.
My accountant told me I had a fantastic profit one year, and I looked at him. I was like, but my bank account is empty.
Yeah, my bank account doesn't reflect
And
this profit you tell me I
he
made.
laughed. He had a good laugh over that. And he goes, oh, no. That's not what's in your bank account. That's called your accounting profit, your tax profit. That's what the government's going to tax you on. But that's not actually, you don't actually have that money. But that's that right there set me on a whirlwind. He's like, no. It's like, so it's like, you understand the accountant looks at your income, subtract your expenses, and that's your profit. Well, when you take away all my expenses, I'm glad if I have anything left
For profit.
for a profit.
Yeah, because we're not taught to take profit.
We're not taught to look at taking our profit out before we spend it all.
Yeah.
And so we're with Profit First. When you read this book, he'll introduce you to the flipping it over. We're going to take our income. We're going to subtract our profit. Yeah, take it out first. And then what's left over is your expenses. What's left over is where you're going to pay yourself. You're going to pay all your operations expenses, and you're going to pay your taxes. So, but you're going to take that profit out because as a business owner, you need to realize that profit and see that profit because that's going to keep you going.
It's going to motivate you.
It's motivate you. I mean, if you look at your business and it's like you have your income, subtract your expenses, and you have nothing left over, no wonder everybody's burning out and overwhelmed and quitting on their businesses in less than 5 years.
Well, and I know as a female entrepreneur too, we're often looking at, it's like I'm opening this business. So some of the stats, and I remember sharing this with you guys yesterday also, most women are leaving the corporate world. Since 1999, there's been I think they said 27% decline in women entering the workforce. They're actually preferring not to go into the workforce. Most of them are looking to, if another way, they're looking to become entrepreneurs. They're looking to start their own businesses. And one of the big reasons, the two reasons they say this is they want flexibility. They want to be able to work a business on their own schedule, be able to spend time with their family, and they want to be able to create the financial income that they believe and they know, like I do know women can be making a lot more money than what we're doing. And so when you talk about having flexibility of time and having more money, when you look at the construct of how business has been designed for us, it isn't designed for this conversation. It's actually against this conversation, which is funny to me because as I dive more and more into the world of business financing, like what does business credit look like? What does a business credit card look like? What do business loans look like? What do business grants look like? When we started going down that path, what we started to realize is that there was a different conversation to be had there also for business owners. And you do have to establish yourself as a business, right? In order to get a business line of credit, in order to get a business card, in order to get grants and funding, like you have to establish yourself as a business.
Oh, there was this really fun fact that we learned that I thought was like so unusual. I never would have thought of it.
What was that?
That when applying to have that business established for like grants and things like that, you actually have to have a phone line dedicated just for your business.
Yep.
And I was just like, because often we just, I have one phone, she has one phone, we use those personal business and all of that. But it's like, but she said it was something about having a bit of a phone number just specifically registered to your business.
Yep. So a couple of things when you start looking at, okay, I know for us as women, we often talk about like, I want to get grant money. Like we know there's tons of grant money out there for women in business. And when we started talking to grant writers and venture capitalists and those that actually hold the purse strings to be able to give this women money, they said there is so much money available to us, but women aren't presenting their business in a way that is actually allowing them to receive the money, right? They're not looking at what they can do, and most of the time, because we are in such a state of overproductivity, and it doesn't match our energetic levels that we have throughout the month, that we're burning out. And so the question becomes is like, I do want to invest in more women, but they're not sustaining this. They're not staying in business long enough for me to see my return. And the other thing is that we often come across, well, women are creating great businesses. They don't have the pricing structure set up so that they are taking that profit first. They are taking an owner's compensation. They know what their expenses are, because when you look at taking a loan as a business, they want to make sure that you're making money, because you've got to be able to pay back that loan, right? And if you're paying back that loan but not paying yourself, you're not really in business. Sorry, ladies. That's like a truth bomb right there.
It's an expensive hobby.
It's a very expensive hobby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it does require, as we're moving forward as women in business, is that there's a lot of tools that we now have access to. One of the things around getting that EIN that we talk about in the very beginning is because most businesses, that EIN is like your social security number. It actually establishes the moment you open an EIN for a business, that is your business line of credit number.
Mm-hmm.
Everything your business does is now tagged to that. The thing that we don't realize is that if you're getting a business card through your bank, and if you're doing personal transactions on your credit card, it doesn't report to your business credit, right? So while you might have a personal credit card that you're using to run all your business through, if it doesn't report to your personal credit,
Mm-hmm.
and your business is thriving so well, great, your personal credit looks good, but your business credit, which has the opportunity over a lifetime to really have better interest rates. It'll give you more capital to work with.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have access to more grant money and everything else, because your business credit EIN number is actually what will set you free financially. It's not using your personal credit and your personal credit cards to run your business. It's actually this shifting over into your business credit,
Yeah.
that's going to allow your business to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us don't talk in this conversation because we are either, we don't have access to it. That's the one thing that drives me insane. But Heidi and I have actively gone out and started seeking this information specifically for women. We look for female grant writers that understand where we're coming from. We're looking for specific businesses that can help women in that financial education. How do you finance your business? How do you get it off the ground? How do you scale the business? And so much of it is we think we have to do it through our own blood, sweat, and tears. But the reality is that we don't need to be in blood, sweat, and tears when it comes to running our business, right? We actually have opportunities to really grow and scale a business. So if you even have a business idea, honestly, I would say go open an EIN number and get something down, because you can change the name of your business. You can become a doing business as a DBA underneath your name of your company. Multiple times you can change that. But having that EIN number that's seasoned as at least 2 years, it's got to be 2 years in business. Whether you're pulling in a profit or not is irrelevant, but having that first 2 years and saying you're established as a business allows you and opens up more doors for you. And I'm actually checking out a system right now that I've never heard of before, but really is set up to help you find those business credit cards, whether you're a startup company, get you going in the right foot to help you make back, your payments and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of companies that I've been, tentatively, watching, testing, looking at, and it's part of that is because I want to be able to give this information to those inside Truth Bomb Academy. I know I don't want to share it with everybody. We've shared a lot of really great information even here, but the idea is that as women in business, whether you're a 1099, brick and mortar, whatever it is, if you're not paying yourself first, right? If you're not taking a profit off of the top, and then recognizing, I think what we're talking about with this is that when you get that income that comes in, we base this on percentages. Most of us have no idea what this actually looks like. So here, I'm going to make it really simple. You get money coming into your bank account. We put that into the income account. Cool, comes in, right? And trust me, we fucked this all up in the beginning, by the way. We did not have this set up the right way because we
only read to chapter 4.
We were seasoned entrepreneurs. I'd run multiple 6-7 figure companies. I knew this. Sort of. Not really. Let's be honest. I didn't know shit.
She makes shit up all the time.
Don't tell them that. They'll never join Truth Bomb Academy if we tell them that. So what was really interesting was when we started implementing this, we said, okay, well, we have to first get our expenses under control. And that's usually when I talk to most businesses and most women that come through Truth Bomb Academy. It's they don't realize how much money they're spending on a month to month basis or even an annual basis. And so it tends to be an eye opening shock, first and foremost, when you start looking at what it is. And then part of this is starting to trim the fat. What do you really need to run your business? What do you just have there that's costing you, right? I know a lot of times, even for myself, we get in on these really great early opportunities, and so I'm godfathered into these pricing structures that are just phenomenal, but I may not be using the system anymore. So why do I hold on to that kind of a thing, right? So part of the thing you're looking at is that when this money comes in, most of it is going to come from your income account and go right into your expense account to pay the bills. I mean, if it doesn't shock you that 98% of your income is paying your expenses, that could be part of it, right?
Not going into the owner's comp.
Not going into the owner's
into
comp.
the OPEX account.
Yeah, it's going
operations.
It's going into your operations accounts, and this is really that first eye-opening experience around how much money your company's actually spending and what you're not taking home. Whether this is payroll, inventory, whatever this looks like this is the bottom line for your business. So, what I love about what Profit First teaches you is that if you're just getting started and you've set up these accounts, and I do highly recommend this, and there's even Profit First specialists for neither of those, but we love what we're learning around this, and we want to be advocates of sharing this good information, right? And we like what it does for our company. It makes it easier for me to open it up and see, okay, here's my OPEX account. This is the money we have to cover these expenses. Do we have it, or what do we need to do now to bring more income in? Like, we know what we have to do.
It's helping you make better decisions.
Oh, it's so much better decisions.
You're making strategic decisions instead of impulsive decisions.
Yeah, and women, we like to be impulsive sometimes.
And I love how it's like, even, I mean, in bookkeeping as it is, I track what we spend anyhow because of subscriptions and things like that you tend to forget about. But as long as but with this system, even if you're not doing the bookkeeping, it helps you to keep track of what is that eating up that operations budget.
Yeah.
But especially when you're making it smaller because you're taking out the other funds. It makes you make those better decisions about strategically how you're building your business, and also it's like, what do you need to bring in those sales so that if you need those extra things to plan and to think ahead. It's just, and when you have a cash management system in place, when all the other things that Katrina talked about, the loans, the credit cards, you need that in place to be able to show them you have a profitable business.
Yeah. And what I also, so like coming back to like, how do you set this all up? How do you know to take what? So definitely read Profit First. I mean, we definitely recommend the book. Don't always get it on audio. There's a lot of imagery inside this book. And I found that when I was listening to audio, then I went looking for the book. Now, some of you might like to read it with audio and the book. But the book has a lot of tangible graphics information that it just visually, it helps to see it.
Yeah.
Not just hear it, at least for me. So when you open up that business and you start looking at your accounts, you're like, okay, I have my income account. This is where my money's coming in. These are my expenses. This is what I have to pay. And that's like 98% of my business. Then we know we have a problem. You're bleeding somewhere, right? And when you start to recognize where you're bleeding, you start looking at, okay, like you said, strategically, what is in your business? So sometimes the easiest thing when you start looking at, okay, well, what is my owner's comp? What is my profit? How much do I put in my taxes? One of the first baby steps, because transitioning from the traditional banking system of one business account where everything is all pooled together, or having 2 or 3 business accounts because you have 2 or 3 different businesses, you're still not segmenting out the money inside of those businesses. So you might have one business here, you might have another business here, and so you have different business banking accounts for different businesses. But what Profit First teaches you is how to really keep those smaller plates at play so that you're making those strategic decisions. So when we were starting to do this and starting to implement it, honestly, we were only taking 1% profit. That was just to get our mind wrapped around what we were doing. We were taking 1% compensation just to get our brains wrapped around. So, we were then like trimming the fat around, okay, what is our business expenses? What do we absolutely need to build our business? And so that what we could do was then start seeing, okay, there's a little extra money in the account. Oh, I get to pay myself. What I love about the profit account is that it's set up over time to become your bonus account. So this is where, you always talk about those CEOs of those major companies that get bonuses every year or whatever. You
Go out
act
to fancy
Go
dinners.
out to fancy dinners,
Go on nice
go on
vacations.
nice vacations. That profit first account becomes that reservoir for you. So now your company is paying for you to take those vacations, and that money is reserved and set aside for those particular events and things that you can have, and it doesn't impact the day-to-day operations of your company. You're not, stealing from Peter to play Paul. I know that's probably a Catholic saying or something like that in the
No,
world.
that's pretty
It's
universal.
pretty universal.
Yeah.
So this was like the conversation we were starting to have, is that so many of us as entrepreneurs, we fall into the trap of the traditional banking system for how businesses get set up. But when you start getting to the level of like an Amazon or a Walmart or those bigger ones, they actually use this system. This is actually what they start separating out their companies, and they start creating different structures around their companies. The customer support has its own accounts. I mean, everything. Research and development has their own accounts. Like, it really becomes a convoluted financial, like, what network that starts to take place. And I think when we start talking with entrepreneurs when we're just getting started, they don't want us having this conversation, because then we really do have an unfair advantage in building businesses, truthfully, right? When we start treating our business, whether it's a 1099, a network marketing company, our own brick and mortar business, a digital marketing, a coaching system we have, and we start implementing this. I mean, my best friend that first told me about this was in Holland. And the first time I heard about this, she said, I've been doing this. So even with her in her banking systems, she was able to set up this type of banking system. She worked with her accountant to implement this system. And she says, now I understand how this money's coming in. So every time she got paid, she was breaking it down into these categories. And it gave her the peace of mind of what she was doing in her business, right? So this is one of the things you have to look at, is that business financial structure is what we think traditional personal banking. I opened a checkings account, I got a savings account, I get personal credit cards, and we tend to mimic that same habit into the world of business, right? And so what we teach inside the Truth Bomb Academy, when we go through that Unlocking My Millions training with women, and we really look at the overall structure of a business, what we're looking at is that getting that cash management system in place. Whether it's you're just getting started and we want to set you up for that financial future of success, or you've been in business for 2 to 3 years and you're struggling financially, I will tell you this. That cash management, when you start going, we have something in there for them to like go through, and like, it's an assessment.
Yeah.
There's an assessment that we can share with you from the Profit First system that will give you a really eye-opening experience around, okay, what is my business doing? How healthy is it, really? And I think that's one of the big things that we don't often look at is, what is the overall financial health of our business? And the problem with social media, I love all social media. Really, I do. I love it for its lead generation. I love for its ability for small businesses to exponentially grow, build followings. Like, there is nothing wrong with this. But sometimes we don't have that business financial conversation. And I know I've worked with tons of mentors over the years, tons of male mentors. And I promise you, this is the smallest conversation out of everything. We can spend hours talking about marketing. We can spend hours talking about building the funnel. We can talk about customer service. We can talk about product delivery. We can talk about product development. We talk about everything else, branding, all of this. But when it comes down to like, okay, how's the company financially doing? It's like
quiet.
It's clams, right? And that's where we're trying to break the norm, especially when we work with women, and get us more comfortable talking about the business side of financing. We always talk about how we want to seat at the table, how we want to have that grant money available to us, how we want to be able to get those small business loans that are available to us. Well, it really starts with understanding your cash management as a business and not treating it as your personal piggy bank, which I did. I'm not telling you saying you did. I did. It was,
and if your true intention is to build a real business, it's like we often like we focus on building it, we focus on the marketing, we focus on that, but what is actually, do you ever think about your end game? Do you ever think about what am I going to do with this at the end? I know when I was in real estate investing, you always have an end game because it's like you're either going to sell it, you're going to rent it, or you're going to maybe live in it.
Right.
But with a business, it's the same thing. What are you going to do with it? And when you're looking at your cash, your cash is like you have to set this up in a way that it's attractive to somebody else. Whether you want to leave it to your children or you want to set it up to sell it. It's like if it's not set up properly, your children aren't going to want it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be sellable.
Yeah.
And so like if you think about these things, I know it's like people's like, oh, I'm just starting, I'm just getting. It's like, well, having the end in mind is going to help you actually get started in the right way and not have to. And this is another thing that I was like, more I get into bookkeeping, the more it's like I want to save y'all headaches and money. A lot of it.
Yeah.
Because the cost of cleaning up, if you don't properly do your bookkeeping for the first couple of years you're in business, and then you have to give it to a bookkeeper on year 4 or 5 and be like, oh, well, it's kind of it's all in there. It was like they're gonna have to go back and clean it all up.
It's going to cost you more.
And it's gonna cost a lot, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so it's just save headaches and setting up a cash management system, setting up those things are going to help you avoid headaches and save you money.
Yeah, the goal within the Truth Home Academy, specifically working with women, is to break down a lot of the barriers and misconceptions and the hype that we've had or that we've been exposed to as women in business. Because if we really wanted to, and I think when we talk about end game too, one thing I was talking about yesterday was that we talk about the female business cycle. We talk about our monthly cycle, how we are in our genius at different points of the week around how we're running our business, right? But I also say not only do women have a cyclical cycle, a monthly cycle, but we also have a seasonal cycle, right? Where we are looking at, what is it? Am I taking care of my kids, right? Am I a young mom, right? What I mean by young moms, you have the younger children. Are you a preteen mom? Are you an adult mom? Where are you in your season? Are you a caregiver for your parents? That's another season that women often deal with. We are such caregivers and nurturers that we typically have seasons in which we're dealing with more so than our male counterparts, right? And I know this is starting to shift a little bit, but it still feels like we put on more of those hats for doing this. So when we look at, okay, what season are you in when you start your business? And recognizing that the season that you're in when you start your business, if you do have small children, isn't going to look like the season of a woman that is like, the kids are out of the house, I'm doing this on my own, I've got all this free time, I'm doing this. Like, it's going to look different. It's going to look different for a single woman. It's going to look different for a married woman. It's going to look different for each one of us. And understanding both the season that we're in and how we want to weave this business into our life. So many times we think this business is outside of us, and that we have to show up a certain way, we have to act a certain way, we have to behave a certain way. That is very much the male mentality that we've been gifted, because that's what they do, right? They step out of the house, they go do it. But really, when we start looking at how do I want this business to weave into my life? How do I want to show up? What are my time schedule? What works best for my energy? Where do I want to schedule my clients? When you start looking at both your infradian rhythm, your 28-day cycle, and you look at that when what season you're in, and you bring the picture out. I will say that when we started doing this, women started feeling better about their business. It didn't feel like they were getting left behind. They didn't feel like they weren't able to keep up. And they didn't feel like they had this daily pressure to perform at a level that they were unable to sustain. So when we talk about this, it's super important for us to first off recognize who you are as a woman. Okay, like you're a woman, start there. The next thing is understand what season of life you're in, because we definitely have more seasons as women. And then understand your cycle of what works best for you, and not feel like you have to conform and get everything done in 24 hours. You're not a machine. You're not a male. And the male's hormonal cycle runs on a 24-hour clock. This is why guys talk about consistency. This is why guys talking about showing up every day. This is why guys train on the 5 a.m. miracle morning. This is why guys train on social happy hour. Our whole construct, our whole business economy is built on how the males hormonally cycle. And yet women, we run through an infradian rhythm which is a 28-day cycle, but we haven't been taught to honor our cycle inside of that circadian rhythm. And because we're not teaching that, and we're not listening to our bodies, we're not understanding that, when we build businesses, we're building them as men and we're burning out. 43% of women are building out in business, both mentally, physically, financially, everything. Like, I've known more women that have successfully built 6, 7 figure businesses to slam the doors down and say, I can't sustain this. And then not only that, they can't even sell it because they feel emotionally attached to that business. And I bet you, if I asked them and surveyed them in a blind survey, most of them will say that because financially that business wasn't generating enough revenue. Because a lot of the times not getting paid for what we know we're worth and all the energy we've put into that business is something else that will pretty much keep us from keeping that business going. So there's a lot that goes on around being a woman in business, and we're just scratching the surface of this. But we know that the money talk and what we talk about inside Truth Home Academy, and specifically Unlocking My Millions, that starts next week, and you're invited to join us. We are, and there's a link here too. If you guys are looking in the comments, there's a link in here. It's for Unlocking My Millions, and that is the course training to teach the holistic business planning for women. The whole purpose and what we're up to is to create more female millionaires. That's number one. We want more women creating and maintaining that millionaire status and having those successful businesses, not because of your personal ability to say I'm a millionaire, but we know that when women are given $1 million, what we do with that money in our communities, with our families, is a much more profound effect than our male counterparts. We'll do more nonprofits. We'll do more we'll move that money in ways that most men won't move money. We're not here to build the bank account. We're here to make an impact, right? So one is to create more female millionaires, just because it'll totally change the landscape. Two is really to empower women to find that cycle that works best for them and stop trying to force themselves into this square peg when they're around individual, right? Like, we are way more holistically cyclical, and that we need in the business world. We actually need more women honoring their cycle and creating more of that 28-day flow, because it unleashes our creativity, which we can then share with the guys, which then gives them the time to breathe. They don't feel like they have to perform all the time. That we start to model for them what it looks like, because they don't always have access to that same information. So it is the yin and the yang, right? This is really about complementing what's already out there. But when we have a infrastructure and business that's set up to not include women on how we feel and how we experience the world, then what we have to do as women is start understanding ourselves and bringing that into the world, right? It's not about fitting in. It's about creating our own reality and our own truth, and then blending that and weaving that into what's already out here. Because the guys are loving this. I think this is fascinating. When I talk to a lot of businessmen, they're like, women actually need this, but we don't know how to teach it because we don't experience it. So it's going to take us as women, you've got two right here that are starting this, that are in this conversation for the first time, because we know how important it is.
Yep.
Right? So money is a big conversation. We have a lot of hangups around money, women. We know that. And we've got a lot of great training in here from music. We've got information around grants. We've got information around business credit, stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else, because it really isn't often talked about. And we've gone looking and seeking the information that is mostly buried, because we're here to bring it to life, and we really want women to get their hands on this information, because we know what's possible when women have their hands in controlling money. I'm excited for it. So yeah. All right, for those of you that were watching and got a chance to hang out with us, thank you for being on with us live today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about another topic called the marketing flow. So most of us as entrepreneurs, including myself, I spent the last 10-ish, 15 years or so teaching digital marketing. And while I've always loved the tactic, one of the things that's really became obvious when I started working with women was teaching them how to build their marketing flow. Just like we're in our business flow, there is, if your primary business isn't to be a marketing company and you're using marketing to help grow your business, there's actually moments inside of your monthly cycle when you are at your peak for creating content.
Mm.
There are times when you're going to be more productive in how you're going to present yourself. There are times of your month when you're going to be at best for creating webinars, for doing live speaking engagements, and understanding that inside of your marketing construct of how you're creating your content and how you're marketing yourself. This is going to be a really interesting conversation for you to be a part of, because no one is really talking about this. And everyone always goes like, how do you come up with this? I said, my brain works vastly different because I've learned to sync in with my cycle. I'm learning to sit with and be creative and really look at what's been missing in the world of female entrepreneurship, that when put in creates a whole different dynamic shift, and then really allows women to step into their creativity, step into their authenticity, and really create those very successful businesses. I want more women to be successful around me. I don't want to be the only success story. I want these women to be the success story. And my question is are you ready to be one of them? If you are, then head over to Truth Bomb Academy or truthbombmarketing.com right now. There's a link over here in the comment section. And take a look. Join. We have the best pricing we're ever going to have. Right now, we're actually going to up the price. We know that already for what we've done in here. The feedback and the reviews from women have been phenomenal for what we're teaching and how we're teaching it. So we want to continue to empower this, but this is an introductory pricing. We want to bring women in. We want you to experience both the course, the community, the privacy. This is a safe place. It's an app that's built off of all other app platforms. It's its own self-contained community, group chats, courses, resources, and we're bringing in experts from all different areas because we really want to serve women and break through a lot of the things that we deal with. So this is going to be fun. So we look forward to having you. Anything else to add?
Definitely. Oh, look forward to seeing you in the community.
So we'll hopefully see you inside the Academy. Join us today. Unlocking My Millions unlocks on Tuesday. And I promise you, you do not want to miss this. So with that, hope you guys are all having a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow for the Marketing Flow here at 12 p.m. Eastern. I go live. The event is on my page. And then on Monday, we're going to give you a sneak peek behind the scenes inside the Academy so you know exactly what you're stepping into. Hope you're all having a great day, and we'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.